Hello, I'm Ben Tushman with the Entrust Group. Today we're going to be covering 5 minutes on 2024 real estate trends. Our guest today is Neal Bawa, CEO of Grow Capitus, the mad scientist of multifamily, and one of today's leading real estate experts. We'll cover as much as possible in this topic within the 5 minutes, but if we run out of time, be sure to check out a full replay of the webinar session we recently conducted with Neal on this topic. Neal, are you ready?
I am ready to go, man.
All right, let's get into it. All right, Neal, what are 3 emerging real estate trends that you expect to emerge in 2024?
Number one, single family housing is extremely overvalued. It's in a bubble, but that bubble is, in all likelihood, is absolutely not going to burst. And so prices are very high. They went up about 42% since COVID. And then last year, they went up maybe about another 1% to 2%. So they've slowed down, but they're definitely in a bubble. And there's a very simple way that I can tell you and prove to you that they're in a bubble. So the average mortgage in the United States today is 111% higher than the day before COVID. 111% higher, so more than double, right? Of this, roughly 38% has come from price increases. The rest has come from interest rate increases, which have more than doubled. Salaries in the United States went up 19.7%. So imagine you're paying 110% more for a mortgage, but your salary only went up 20% or a little less than 20%. That's the classic definition of a bubble. And so why am I predicting that this bubble won't burst? Because that's the trend, right? That there's a bubble and it's not going to burst. The answer is the lock-in effect. So we have 20 to 30 million households in the United States, including my household, where if we go out and buy another home that looks just like ours today, so not even better, just the same exact home, our mortgage is going to go from, in my case, probably go from $4,000 to $9,000 a month. So I am locked into my home. So are 30 million other American families, because we're all locked in at rates under 5%, 4%, 3%, in my case, 1.75%. So we can't go anywhere. And because there's no mobility, there's no volume. So the total volume of homes that are coming into the market is so low that it's extremely difficult for prices to fall. So number one, single families in a bubble. Number two, that bubble's not going to burst this year.
Got it. And are there any specific geographic regions or areas that you expect to be particularly hard hit by this?
So all of the boom towns, right? So the boom towns are going to see actual price reductions. They're going to be small. So San Francisco, Austin, Phoenix, these are boom towns, and they're going to see some price reductions simply because they're the ones where affordability is being pushed the hardest, right? So that 111% number, it probably is higher for those. And that 20% number might be a little bit higher, but not as much as that 111. Maybe that 111 is all the way up to 130, 140, 150. And maybe salaries are up to 25. So the gap is even higher. So expect boom towns in the United States that have been really, really pushed to the edge of affordability to see price declines. But once again, they're likely to be single digit.
Got it. And are there any regulatory changes, maybe zoning laws or tax incentives, shaping the investment landscape for real estate investors?
Not in this year, but I'm very interested to see what happens next year. So a lot of in election years, usually you don't get any of these kinds of things passed, right? So, because it upsets some constituency that's not going to vote for it. But I think that in 2025, we might see some interesting things happen. There's, once again, a momentum to remove the 1031, which will hurt really expensive blue states. So states that have $1 million, $2 million homes could see damage if the 1031 gets either diluted or removed. From a zoning perspective, the only thing that we're seeing are grassroots movements in different cities to basically outlaw single-family zoning. So if you have a single-family home, you can build up, 4 units. We haven't seen much inventory actually created by this. So it's been hype, but at a national level, if you need 4.7 million units, and because of these zoning changes, we end up creating 50,000 units. Sounds like a lot, but really isn't. Doesn't solve the problem.
Got it. And you said that boom towns might be coming in for a bit of trouble on the horizon. Are there any areas that you're looking at in particular with some untapped potential?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't often say this. So, I've been doing real estate trends for the last 10 years, doing it for Entrust for 8 years. And I don't often talk about these parts of the United States, but so this year the opportunity is really not in any of the boom towns. It's in the Midwest, right? So in the full presentations, I show you 5 different best of lists. And what's remarkable to notice that the best of lists this year are dominated by the Midwest, especially by the state of Ohio. So the opportunity is in all four of Ohio cities, so Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Toledo. And none of these four usually are in my top, charts in the last 7 or 8 years. And the reason they're there is affordability, because they haven't had a huge amount of new supply come in because of the boom that we had in 2022. Their rent growth is still going to be fairly reasonable. Their prices are still fairly reasonable. Affordability makes sense. So a ton of the real estate picks of the year are really in the Midwest.
Got it. And last question, as we're running up against the clock here. What advice would you give to someone who's looking to make their first real estate investment in 2024?
Stop reading social media, because social media tells you, talks about what has happened. So the last 18 months have been bad for commercial real estate and okay for single family real estate. So not bad, but okay. That's the past. When you make decisions based on the immediate past rather than the 5-year, 10-year, and 50-year trend, you make really bad mistakes. Today, on the multifamily side especially, we can get 20 to 30% discounts, something that should never be possible when the unemployment rate is under 4%. But it's just this window of opportunity where interest rates are very high. So you've got a tremendous opportunity today. Be bullish. Don't forget, in 2008, you froze. Don't freeze again.
Got it. Well, Neal, we are out of time. That was a tremendous lightning round. Thank you for compressing as much as you could within 5 minutes. Of course, really compress everything there is to say about 2024 real estate in 5 minutes. Neal conducted a great extended session up to about an hour for us recently. So if you want to check that out with much more in-depth information and data to support each point, go check that out. Neal, any last things to say?
No, I think the full session is really, really worth it. I had a very large number of people and they really enjoyed it. So check that out.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again next time.